In terms of those college protests, which you write about in the book, one thing I'm curious about is we saw so many of them last year, and we see so few of them right now. What happened? Why is that?
It's, I do write about the student protests because it's very important. At the same time, I think it's important not to overstate. At the same time, you can't overstate and you shouldn't understate it. But these are elite institutions that turn out to be the most rotten. And this is a very big challenge for all of us in the rest of the West. It isn't the case that, technical colleges have had students dressing up as Hamas for the last 20 months or whatever. It isn't the case that in good community colleges, these young people are going off and deciding actually they're going to litigate a conflict in a...
Because they got to work.
They got to work.
Community college, they got jobs.
They're going to become useful people.
Right.
And it's a problem we have in all of our countries in the West at the moment with elite institutions. And this is a bit of a surprise in some ways. I mean, everybody knows from the 1960s and everything, and again, it's relevant to where we are. There were, in the 68ers, we saw that there were some liberal campuses, Berkeley and elsewhere, where you get the wildest excesses. But even then, we didn't have the kind of putrefaction we see now. I mean, in 1968, it was still not cool to actually call for genocide on campus. It was still not the done thing in 1968 to chase Jewish students across campus shouting, "Go back to Poland," or say, "I hope that Hamas gets you next," which is what's happening at Columbia and Yale and Princeton the other week. When another terrorist was killed, the students start chanting "Glory to our martyrs." Who is our exactly in that case?
Yeah.
The martyrs of Princeton?
Yeah.
So this is a very serious defect but it's being taught. And there's a guy I quote in the book who is really, it's an extraordinary thing that this young guy said. He's a student at Columbia University, and he said, I'm a first generation, low income, first member of my family to go to university. And he says, when I got to this university, I learned about the rich history of protest. And I remember thinking, when it kicks off again, I want to be at the center of it. Now, he then says, so when October 7th happened, I realized we were on. And then before you know it, he's living in a tent in the middle of campus screaming at Jews. But just consider what has gone wrong in that. I would like to think that this young guy can at some point deprogram from the death cult he's found himself worshipping. But consider that actually what has gone wrong there is at the institutional level. Why is an American university, partially funded by taxpayer money, telling a student coming up, being given the best chance they have in their life as the first member of their family to get that chance, that to be a student at a university in America in the 2020s, your best use of your time is to be turned into a radical automaton? Why are we telling them why are they encouraged to believe they should become activists instead of doing something with their lives, contributing to the world, contributing to their country? This is something we need to deprogram the universities, but that is why.
And not only activists, but activists for a different country, not even dealing with issues around the university.
I mean, it's amazing that some kid who's, just got to an Ivy League suddenly seems to think they're an expert in urban warfare in a far-off continent. But this is something that needs to be tackled. My own belief is that what the Trump administration has been doing is absolutely right, and I'd like to see them do more. I think, by the way, I was talking about this with somebody from Harvard the other day who thought the president had gone in with a rather heavy hand by stripping their charitable status and so on, and stopping the access of foreign students. But I think most American taxpayers are rather surprised to discover that they are supplementing the income of Harvard to the extent that it is bringing in 30% foreign students. I'm not sure the American taxpayer is aware that they're underwriting not the education of Americans, but the education of the world. And these institutions were not set up for this. I think that the Trump administration's policies, yes, they've been heavy-handed in places, yes, they'll definitely get things wrong. But by the way, watch out for the big trick that these Ivy Leagues are playing, which is they have billions and billions of dollars of endowments. And they're all pretending that the withdrawal of elements of their funding mean, and wait for it, always they say, this cut is terrible. It means that we're going to have to close our cancer research department. No. Don't let's fall for this. Cut the rancid Middle Eastern radicalization department. Do that. Cut off the limb of the whatever it is, lesbian interpretive dance degree class. Get rid of the stuff that's no use. Get rid of the stuff that's no use, it's bogus degrees, where students get heavily into debt for degrees that'll get them nowhere job-wise. Cut that off, but don't let's fall for this thing of them pretending, oh yeah, it's the research into cancer in kittens that we're going to have to stop. Yeah. No, it's so transparent what they're doing.